Welcome to the Intelligent Business Show, a podcast from Aberdeen discussing the latest trends in marketing and sales to keep you and your business at the top of your game. And now here's your host, Aberdeen's VP of Marketing, Jesse Cohen.
Hi, everybody. I'm here today with Jacki Leahy from LinkSquares, who runs revenue operations. I'm really excited for you guys to listen in on our chat today. Without further ado, Jacki, why don't you tell us a little bit about LinkSquares, maybe in a sentence or two, and then fill us in on what revenue operations does.
Perfect. It's so great to be included. So LinkSquares, we offer deep search and metadata extraction for contracts. So companies with a ton of contracts that are all non-standard. Before us, you'd have to read every contract one at a time to pull out those details, but we do that for you. It's very fun. In revenue operations, I'm making sure all the processes and everything works smoothly, and then also being a strategic partner for my revenue driving heads, marketing and customer success, and of course, sales.
Great. So tell me a little bit about how you use data in your role. I'm guessing probably a couple of different ways based on that description, but let's talk about that a little bit and we'll dive in from there.
Yeah, sure. First of all, to start off, if my calculus teacher from 9th grade could see me now, he would just die.
Why is that? You were not a great math student?
See, it's like I look at math like it's like an unrequited love affair. Like I do like math, it just doesn't like me back. But we've gotten over our difficulties. So the main way that we use data here at LinkSquares is identifying who we should be going after, because we're only a couple of years old as the 10th hire, but now we're almost at 50. And in my year and a half, we've more than quadrupled headcount, customers, and revenue. And a lot of that is because it's a totally green space. It's a new product in an emerging competitive landscape, and tons of different types of companies can use us. So whereas other companies I've been at, it's more of a struggle to find like the needles in the haystack. We're more like we've got a haystack full of needles. Like, how do we start? What I did is I feed it every quarter. I feed it our customers, and then it figures out the spiky, what my VP of sales calls spiky, what a stats person would call the Z-score, the significance factors, and then we pull those out, and then we use that to drive account scoring. Of course, if you're in your later 20s, early 30s, you come into a new sales role, and you kind of have a good gut feel of who to go after and what makes sense. With the brand new BDs and even like earlier in their sales career AEs, they haven't developed that gut feel yet. And especially because our market is so big, it's hard to kind of hone it in and say, okay, I'm going to spend the bulk of my time with these types of companies.
So you're using the account scores to be able to triage who should be talking to whom when based on how your sales team is organized? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so we build the account score based on attributes like how much they've raised in total funding. Fun fact, we have 101.28 Z-score of companies that have raised over 100 million. And basically, like any Z-score over like 13 is like, holy moly. So the fact that we have 101, it's like, oh man, this can really help us zero in and refine our pitch to these types of companies. Whereas if there's none reported, we have a negative 43.51 Z-score. So it lets us really target and hone in on who should be going after. And it's not just a gut feel. It's like, okay.
It's based in fact. You're looking at data and it's like, okay, here, let's point the engine in this direction. So that's interesting. And it sounds, so walk me through a little bit more what goes into that data set that you're looking at when you're building these account scores. So I know you mentioned a technology that you use, what types of signals or data feeds or activity metrics, what's the mix of those types of that goes into that scoring or that scoring methodology? Obviously, don't reveal we want some of the secret sauce, for our listeners, but
I have no secrets, Jesse.
I like it, Jackie. I knew this was going to be a good chat. So spill the secret sauce. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So my big confession is that we actually don't use many signals. The only things that we're working with are firmographics, really. So headcount, funding, keywords, industry categories, technographics, and then we also use conferences and public lists. So that's really all that we're using. Yeah.
It's interesting to hear how you're breaking down those account scores and feeding them into sales and finding success with it. It's good to hear the mix, and you guys have found the right methodology and math behind it. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Talk to me a little bit about, how you used data. Have you used it? I know you've used that on the sales side. Have you used it on the marketing side from a revenue ops standpoint? What does your funnel look like? Does that affect any of it?
Well, second fun fact of the evening, Jesse, is we don't actually have anyone in marketing yet.
Oh my God, girl.
yeah, I know. So that's mostly like me / my CEO / random just consultants. But we have done ABM type pushes where it's obviously very tied to the outbound sales engine because it's the same person running the whole thing. So we use the account score to really juicy accounts, like frothy accounts bubble to the top. And like a year ago, we related it to like the game of Operation, where extracting like the funny bone out of Cavity Sam was fun, but like extracting like important details out of contracts, not so much. So we got a list of 100 companies based on attributes like I was just talking about who had a general counsel, and we were pretty sure that the general counsel was actually located where the data said they were. And we did a whole ABM campaign where we mailed them an operation game.
Snail mail?
Snail mail.
Love it.
We sent them, and combined with using a sequence and outreach with a hand-edited first email, a bunch of follow-up automated emails, and some calls. So that's probably like the number one way that we've kind of integrated the sales and the marketing. And then the number two is prepping for conferences. Our big one is coming up next month. And I don't know about you, but you get the attendee list and you're like, okay, where do I start? Well, I just run it against our account score. And I'm like, hey, if they've got an account score less than 200, like, let's not even worry about it. And then I clean up all the data, make sure I dedupe it from what's already in our Salesforce and outreach ecosystem, and then do all of our pre-show outreach. We know who you are and where you work and why we're reaching out to you. But because we have that power of the account scoring, it lets us be a lot more focused and have better conversations more often instead of talking to companies that don't really need us or the wrong persona.
Yeah, that's a great strategy. Let's go back to the list that you're getting for a minute, and let's talk about good data and bad data. You said there's a little bit of prep work that you're doing on the list, and I know this is one of those dirty secrets that not a lot of people talk about. You get a list or you've built a list, and there's a lot of work that goes into managing it and updating it and managing that data. Tell me a little bit about, maybe 3 tips that you might have for somebody who's managing data and how they make it look good and how you clean it and all of that. You got any other additional dirty secrets that you'd want to share? I'm putting you on the spot now, huh?
I think especially in startup world, it's tempting to think that there's this magic list and you're dumb if you don't have the list or something.
Yeah.
And especially for people coming from like bigger companies who are much more just mature in everything, coming here, it's like, oh, can I have a list of blah, blah, blah? It's like, okay, great. Like, let's build it. They're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, the lists aren't just there. Like,
Yeah.
I think the biggest dirty secret is just, no, it's very much DIY. Like, of course you can purchase lists, but I don't know.
So many issues these days with purchasing lists.
Yeah, purchase lists. And I don't know. I do love the hunt. Like once an opportunity, like I come from business development and I hate inbound. I only like outbound. And once they're actually interested, I like I never wanted to be an AE because I didn't care about them anymore. I was like, it was too easy. Like I love the outbound hunt. I like the chase. And maybe that's why I like to like build my own data sets. And the second dirty little secret is there's no shame if you don't already know how to do a VLookup table.
Oh, that's a great tip. I think
there's no shame. It's okay. Like everyone's like, and if you don't do them regularly, you forget how to do it. So like, don't feel the shame if you don't know how to do it. It's okay. There's tutorials out there. Ask one of your nerdy friends.
Or the Google or the YouTube.
Like, don't be ashamed. YouTube. And I guess Microsoft Excel is coming out with XLOOKUP now. So that'll be rolling out soon. Very exciting.
That's exciting. Well, let me ask you, a couple more questions. So with that in mind, what do you expect for the future? Maybe not for the future of data, but as you're building out revenue operations, sales ops, what do you expect for the future? What are you seeing as the next big thing?
The next big thing is applied machine learning. I think we're going through this puberty age of AI and machine learning where it's like, okay, I've got this thing that can do something and it may or may not be commercially helpful. But I think we're really advancing towards real, narrow AI or machine algorithms that solve very specific business pains, business problems very well. So I think over the next couple of years, all the tools that promise to dedupe and scrub and magically produce the magical list, right? I think they'll start being able to do stuff like that.
So you're thinking that AI and machine learning are probably going to be able to evolve into doing discrete functions that you guys are faced to do manually now, and eventually that'll turn into one type of unified technology or something along those lines. Would you say that's...
I don't know about unified.
Oh, interesting.
I think certain things will be able to do certain things really well. And then the second thing, I think the name of the game will be like plays well with others.
Like integrations, everything, like sort of like technology ecosystems or things like that, some sort of stack that complements each other.
And like the user friendliness, like the user delight, and just like would you be popular in kindergarten? Like if there was a product sales tech product kindergarten, like would this be a well-liked kid?
Gotcha. All right, one last question as we wrap up here. What is the best piece of business advice you've ever gotten or you've ever been given? I know it's a fun one.
It's a fun one. So many. I think there's no competition for this one, and it comes from the most amazing man, Mr. Jack Welch. He's all about his like over-deliver. He's from Salem, Mass, of course, so he's got the Boston accent. But it's over-deliver. Over-deliver. I'm going through the Jack Welch MBA program, and he'll do every quarter, he'll do like a live session with students. And no matter what the question is, like if you're worried about getting a promotion, if you're worried about this, if you're worried about that, it's like 9 times out of 10 it might not be his answer, right, every time. But it's like most problems can be solved by like over-delivering.
I love it. Well, thanks so much. Is there anything else, that you wanted to share as we've been chatting that you feel like our audience should know?
Don't be scared. Even if you didn't do well in Algebra 2 in high school, you too can rock data.
I love it. I love that. Well, thanks, Jacki, so much. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Oh, Jessie, you're the best. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in today's episode. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Jacki. My next guest is Han Wang, who's the Global Sales Operations Director at Tufin. We'll be discussing some of the unique ways they have optimized their sales operations. Till next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Intelligent Business Show. You can find all our episodes on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and most other places you tune in to podcasts. Be sure to follow us on Twitter @Aberdeen Group and on Instagram @Aberdeen_life.